Welcome to Focus on B, the single-part video series where I take a look at a game, or in this case, several games that would not be great for Let's Play material, but you know what? There's a video in here somewhere, and I'm gonna find it. This is the Atari 2600. This is Space Invaders for Atari 2600. Why am I playing it? Well, we're not just playing this. This is going to be an episode essentially going over a fuck ton of Atari 2600 games, just looking at the first real generation of home console gaming, and just looking at how things have changed, how things almost haven't changed in some ways, and acknowledging some games that are genuinely fun, just like as games that I think are worth checking out, just as fun little, because it's first of all, here's the interesting thing, right? Actually, first thing I want to talk about is the fact that, you know how at this time, I mean, there's always going to be clones of games, and at this point it was like there was the Pac-Man clones, Space Invaders clones, and Asteroid clones, and like some other kinds of clones, right? You know what's funny? That basically much like how on the N64, like a lot of the kart racers after Mario Kart 64 are actually better than it. You know, I don't know if that's really that much of a hot take, to be honest. You know, everyone loves Diddy Kong Racing, right? But also, you have the same thing happens here. There's so many fucking Space Invaders clones, you have no idea, that are actually more polished than this one. In fact, welcome to Air Raid. I'm fucking dead. This is a blatant Space Invaders clone, but you know what it is? It's actually way more polished and more visually appealing than the main game. It's more exciting, faster, there's more variety in the enemy shapes, they come out of nowhere a little faster. It's still just a simple Atari game, but it's better than what it drew inspiration from, and that's so common for this time period because things were just evolving so quickly when it came. Well, I want to say they were evolving that fast, but you could definitely see the increase in fidelity, right? I mean, it still doesn't hold a candle to the original Space Invaders in the arcades, but you gotta understand this is a fucking 4 kilobit tiny little dinky fucking home console from the time period, right? Released in 1977, this system was. My God, it's so old. It's not even funny. And you look at this, I'm fucking blasting these dudes and it feels good. In fact, you know what? Let's jump even further ahead. Maybe not in time, I'm not sure chronologically how this goes, but definitely in technical appeal. Okay, that was pretty fucking impressive. This is radar lock, I think, for, yeah, Atari 2600, 1989 this is, so it's a little bit later. Actually, it's very late in the system's lifespan, come to think of it. This is actually around that's what it said, the copyright, like, let me show you, actually. Let me just, so you don't actually fucking, yeah, look, 1989, Atari, so this is quite a late one, but look at this shit. Look at it's like actual, it looks real, it looks genuinely convincing. Now the gameplay is very difficult. Look, I can even go up and down. It feels like a genuine illusion of three-dimensional space with depth and stuff. You run around shooting these guys, and again, it's very typical, but it kind of feels like a very, very, very primitive version of something like Ace Combat, I think the series was called. You know, like those kind of flight games that are very action-focused. Right? And this is a third-person take on the genre. I'm going to show you a first-person take on the genre a little bit later. See what we can do with these. I mean, you got your radar, which, I don't know, is it that useful? I guess it is useful, to be honest. See, just the fact that I'm playing this game is older. It's almost as old as my parents, for fuck's sake. Not that old, but still, you know, it's insane how it's just like, it's totally playable. Flying around, I feel like I can't say I feel like I'm there. Look at the clouds, right? This is very impressive for what they had to work with. And now, let's try out a first-person version of this. Have y'all ever played Microsoft Flight Simulator? Well, this is Atari Flight Simulator, copyright well, I'm going to assume somewhere between 1977 and 1985 or so. Damn it, I didn't check again. But, yeah, this is Air Raiders, not to be confused with Air Raid, a game I showed you a little earlier. And look at this. It's a first-person flying shooting guys game where you get shot in the face because you suck at the game, and it's so much, I mean, it's very arcade still, but look at this, just 2 fucking colors on the screen, actually free, okay, more than 2 colors on the screen, but the main view is only this like cyan blue-ish and green, and yet that's enough. I feel like I'm actually, I've been shot down. You can see your altitude down there with the ALT. It's not just the ALT on the computer, and you're shooting the guys. And this doesn't. I mean, it's old, and it kind of feels like it. but it's playable. And you know what it is? I think it's the fact that it runs smooth. Like, there was just, again, it was that early 3D era that forgot how important it is for things to run smoothly. I'm not asking for a 240 hertz or anything. I'm just asking for at least like 30 FPS, and this is running at 60 FPS. I mean, I'm recording this at 30, but goddamn, this is really, really cool. You know what else is really, really cool? Need for Speed on Atari. This is Bank Heist. You know how this game works? It's basically like, it looks like a Pac-Man clone, except you got the fucking cops chasing after you. With their sirens. So, it's like Need for Speed, except it's not. And you can drop bombs, just like the weapons in Hot Pursuit 2010. Look at this shit. Except, hold on, isn't it supposed to scroll? I could have sworn that the game had a scrolling system instead of just being chased around. Hold on. Wasn't there a way for that to happen, or am I in the wrong game mode? Let me reset real quick. Because, again, you can select between the different modes with the F1 key. I mean, the button on the actual system. And I'm pretty sure this game had a scrolling thing going on last time I played it, where I would go to the side of the screen, and then it would actually scroll onto a separate... I mean, it didn't scroll... I've been wrecked. We just need a crash camera. But it doesn't scroll like smoothly or anything, but it does change screens, right? Let's go over here, and there we go. Now we're on a new screen. So the game actually has a little sense of progression, a little bit of development, similar to something like Adventure, which I'm actually not going to show off because it's one of the more popular Atari games anyway, and I have no fucking clue what to do in that game, and I don't really feel like looking it up. But look at this. It's like basically Need for Speed, except not. And it's still, I don't know, it's enjoyable. It's like, it's got that Pac-Man appeal to it with the way that it's top down. And I can see myself like spending a few hours on this. And what's fun is that these kind of games have kind of never died out. They just got prettier looking with mobile gaming and shit like that. And, you know, their practices kind of change when it comes to the way that they acquire currency. But that's a different story. It's just there's plenty of still stupid, simple games. In fact, they've gotten simpler with the whole fucking, the zip poppers and shit. You know those kind of games where like you tap and then you just don't do anything? Yeah, this is better than that. Like, imagine, like, we live in the future, and a game from released on a system manufactured in 1977 is over here kicking ass. You know what else kicks ass? Hero by Microsoft, by Activision, released in 1984. You know what kind of game this is? This is a straight up, like, run around and complete objectives type, almost like an adventure game. It's so freaking elaborate. You can drop bombs by tapping down. Boom, you got traps, you got your typical dickhead level design. For example, that off to the right had a... Oh, it didn't have a trap, actually. I think I'm misremembering. You can destroy enemies, you save the guys, the fewer bombs you use, I think, and the less power you use. So basically, the faster you do it, the more points you get. It's so crazy to think that there was a time when Activision was basically kind of the king of gaming, in a way. And I guess you could argue in some ways, you know, they got Call of Duty, but that's not so much in terms of quality. Not to say that the Call of Duty games are... No, I've been deaded. I respawn, though, that's fine. That's also interesting because, like, live systems were... I mean, I guess they were commonplace at this point, but it's strange to me to see a live system like in a game like this, because I keep expecting it to just reset me completely, but no, you just have lives. Normal lives like you would have, except, again, this is a little bit too soon for lives to be done away with. That is, yeah, okay, it's got that kind of dick-headed level design. Oh, also the bombs illuminate the area. That's... You can't do that. You can't do that, Activision. I know you're 2 decades too early to be making your fucking, you know, copy-paste shooters, but come on, don't be doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, this is a very elaborately made game that I could actually see myself... That's lava. That kills you. Alright, let's move on to something else. Alright, we had a little bit of Atari Need for Speed. Now it's time for Atari F1 before Codemasters. Oh, this is also before Codemasters were a thing. This is also an Activision game. Yeah, again, Activision kind of were at the top of their game at this point. Kind of sad to say it that way. I mean, okay, they haven't made, like, nothing but shit or anything. I mean, they have made, like, some decent shooters, and also they kind of sort of had the Tony Hawk games for a little while until they ruined them. And then they... Wait, did they publish the new, like, the good remake? I'm not sure. And they also had Spyro. Well, I mean, they... Wait, no. Did Activision... They published Crash. The new Crashes. Oh, the new... Yeah, I guess, you know, the Insane and all that. And were they responsible for Reignited? I think they were. God damn it, I gotta check that. It doesn't really matter. But look at this. It's actually a very smooth and well-playing racing game with like all these different screen changes. It's challenging too. You really don't want to hit things. You don't just explode, but you get bounced back. And the reason why it plays so well is because it's so fluent, so smooth. You don't have that, like, there's a game on this called Knight Rider, which is just, I know it's old, but it's fucking abysmal, because it's like, the track is represented by all these barely connected lines. Like, this is actually playable. It's not as good as something like Top Gear 3000 on the Super Nintendo, but also came out like a decade prior on a system that was almost 2 decades old, and it's just like, yeah, okay, no shit. But like, look at this. I can see myself kind of spending a bit of time with this. It's really not that hard to go back to. The backgrounds change frequently enough. It's fucking hard, though. But that makes sense. In a way, it's almost... It's a level of... It's kind of punishment that it has is different to a more modern game where you just take some damage. Here you get just sent all the way back. And you gotta make sure you clear enough opponents before you... I don't know, you get like a certain amount of time. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it's very simple though. You just gotta... Oh, now it's nighttime and you only see their taillight. Wait a second, I'm pretty sure F1 cars only have one central taillight, but that doesn't matter. Look at that, that's cool. That's a convincing illusion. This is what Knight Rider should have been like, you know, the whole time. That looks really, really good. And it's playable. They come out just to, you know, they appear just early enough for you to be able to avoid them, and you still run into them, of course. Let's try something else now. And now for one of, I believe, Mark from Classic Game Room's favorite games. This is, Star Wars, yeah, it says it right there. Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, 1982, by the Parker Brothers, apparently. I don't have much to say in terms of like what's so special about this game, other than the fact that, again, it actually plays quite okay, especially for a, you know, a movie licensed haha shitty game. Ow, fuck, it's hard though. Again, ow, all of the games from this time period were difficult because, well, quite frankly, you don't get much time to avoid shit, but it is fun. It's rewarding to take down those walkers. I don't know. I don't know shit about Star Wars. As I said, I think I'm controlling a TIE fighter. No. Maybe it is. I don't really know, to be honest. But I don't even know what these fuckers are called. These, like, walking guys. But, I'm sure if I gave a shit about the movies, you know, I would, I know. But it's rewarding. It's very... There's almost like a Shadow of the Colossus type thing going on, where it's like you gotta defeat the giant, you know, thing that's much bigger than you, and you have to make sure you don't get hit. I mean, okay, you're not climbing on top of it, to be fair, it's not quite as cinematic, but still, for an incredibly early game in the system's lifespan, okay, well, 1982 wasn't that early, but still, was the movie even out at this point, or did it, I mean, of course it would have had to been out, but I mean, is this like the second one? Because it says Empire Strikes Back, so I'm assuming this is based on the sequel. I don't know shit about how the movies go. I know there's like a series of, like, there's a trilogy of movies that are newer but are prequels, and like people don't like them because reasons. Well, actually, because apparently they just have really bad everything. I don't personally mind the fact that, oh, they look shinier and newer despite taking place earlier. I mean, that kind of bothers me sometimes in video games too, actually. Like, wait, hold on, so this game is much better looking, so therefore it's newer and more modern, but it's also in the past. It's hard to sort of wrap your head around that, but then you realize it's not... Fucking hell, alright, this game is pretty hard. You do get plenty of lives, though, fortunately, but let's go check something else out. What do I see down there? It's the Activision logo. Well, this better be good, and this is... a River Raid, 1982. Again, a little bit later into the system's lifespan. What kind of game is this? You know what this is? This is a home console, right? Early, well... I'm not really sure what the very first vertical scrolling spaceship shooter is, but this is probably a pretty early example of this kind of game on a home system from the time. You know, remember, this was before 1983, before the original Famicom Disk System, right? Before Nintendo came in and fucking dominated the whole market for a couple years, and then Sega was like, hi, I exist, and then PlayStation was like, I very exist, and they kind of just held on to that, but then the Wii came out and it was like, okay, cool. But look at this, it's a totally playable, smooth, scrolling, vertically scrolling shooter, and you know what? Again, it's still really, really, like, solid and enjoyable. It's difficult, of course. I mean, like, it starts with a fucking thing right in front of you. You want to refuel, there's fueling mechanics. The controls are fine. The visuals aren't the absolute best on the system or anything, but hey, at least it runs nice and smooth. It's, everything's nicely defined. You gotta manage your fuel, and it's actually, yeah, I don't know what else to say about this other than the fact that I'm just impressed this is a thing. The fact that it's more than one screen. And I can imagine they're pulling off some kind of trickery here to make it seem like it's more than one tiny little part of a map, right? I'm sure it's, as far as the console itself is concerned, it's not actually scrolling a giant world. It's probably just moving only one or two pieces around to make it look like it, but I mean, we don't care. The user does not care about that. What we care about is that we get a convincing enough illusion, and as you can see, this is a very convincing illusion. I feel like I'm actually flying through this expansive world, and goddamn, for the time, this is pretty fucking sick. Is there no limit to what Activision could have done back then with the frickin' Atari 2600? This is Robot Tank, released in 1983 by Activision. Look at this shit. It's a first-person shooter. Like an honest-to-God actual first-person shooter for the Atari 2600. That's like smooth and playable. And everything looks defined and clear, and there's actual detail to things, and there's like a pattern on the floor, and there's like a little radar too, and allows you to dodge things. Like I can actually play this. It's basically just Doom. You can't really strafe or anything, but well, I mean, basically Doom. What I mean is it has like a similar Doom control scheme. And now it's dark, and you got to figure out where they are based on your radar. God damn, this is cool. This is really cool. Is it gonna keep your interest forever today? Oh, of course not. But look at this. Think about it. This was like the same year as when the Famicom came out, before the NES, on a system that was already, how many years? Like, 6 years out of date? Oh, that's the game over screen. Oh, switching to reserve tank. What do they mean by that exactly? So it's like just an extra life. Oh yeah, because I have multiple lives. And look at this. I can just run around and shoot guys. I mean, not running, I'm controlling a tank. That's how they've contextualized it, because back then every game had to be contextualized like, oh, you are inside of a thing. Let's just restart it. You are inside of a thing, and that's how it controls. Just to make it, you know, seem simpler, if that makes sense, seem more logical for people back then, because it's like, what? I'm controlling an actual person? That's weird, at least from a first-person view, but look at this. It's like a totally convincing illusion of a first-person perspective. Obviously, that's not what's really going on, but it looks close enough, doesn't it? Holy shit, I'm having my mind blown all over again. And finally, because, you know, 20 minutes of Atari, it can only last for so long, right? But this is Bump and Jump, released in also 1993 by M Network. God, it's so handy that Stella has a, I mean, my real Atari 2600 has a little window, like on the border of the screen, it shows me what the game is and when it came out. That's very nice, because I don't research this shit beforehand. You know what this is? This is fucking Burnout. This is literally Burnout free takedown for the Atari 2600. Look at it. Like, you're driving around, you're ramming cars, trying not to get killed, because you can also get rammed into the side. And look at that, I killed a skull, I killed Death himself, and you have to jump over shit. That's not really a part of Burnout, per se, but that, okay, it's a little bit tricky trying to line up the jump just right. Oftentimes, I kind of just don't do it successfully, but I love how the jumping animation is just, the car gets bigger. And it works. It's a convincing enough illusion. It's all about illusions at this point. I mean, I guess graphics to this day are still all about illusions. They're just much more convincing. Can you jump over dudes? Yes, you can. I'm gonna fucking die now. Yep, I knew it. You cannot afford to mistime your jumps. You have to do it. You know what I'm gonna do for just this one part? I actually sat down like a few hours before I recorded this, and I made an Atari 2600 compliant version of Yellow Card's Breathing. Just a really simple loop, and I think after you've heard a couple measures of the actual music in this game, because it has music, believe it or not, very few games on the Atari 2600 have music, if you've noticed. I'm fucking dead again, but I do get plenty of lives. Yeah, I'm gonna replace it with my little interpretation, just so you hear what it sounds like, because I think it's fun, and I think that would make this complete. Oh, there's levels! I had no idea. Okay. From this point on, I'm going to be playing Editor Me. Start playing the thing, the song now, because I want you guys to hear how I interpreted it, how it would sound. I'm not going to release it separately or anything. It's literally just because I did a little bit of research regarding the sound limitations of the system, and they're pretty evident. Basically, you only get two channels that are monophonic, of course, which means that you can only really have like one thing going on in each one. There's square waves, and you can also have noise. That's how you get these sound effects. They're noise, right? So basically I had to choose when to have a snare, when a kick, and when I could do bass notes, and when I could do, like, I prioritize the melody, of course, but yeah, whatever. I hope you're enjoying what you're listening to in the background right now, although there's no sound effects happening from the actual game, because that would require me to somehow have them separate, and it's not really going to happen right now. It doesn't. It doesn't have settings. But yeah, I can't believe it. I'm fucking playing this Atari 2600 combat racing game released, like, a million years ago, and look at it, it's like totally playable, and I'm fucking dead. But let's play just a little bit more, but really, it just shows how little is necessary for you to really feel like you want to engage in this thing that you're doing. I mean, would I rather be playing Burnout? I mean, like, yeah, sure, but look at this shit, 1983, Burnout was 2001, I think, the first one. Oh, come on, I barely clipped that. It is very punishing. You get a little heads up, fortunately, as you can see. Oh, fuck. But of course, you can get rammed into the walls as well. I still can't believe this is happening. I'm like fucking commentating over an Atari 2600 game, and it's like working because the game is very fun. It has simple systems which work, and you have to strategize. You gotta think, okay, should I jump a little preemptively to try and land in a different section of the track? There's a lot of memorization as well. And just crashing into shit. That's gonna be fun no matter what. You know, it's like a universal thing. It's just we're all gonna enjoy playing Flat Out 2, no matter how you make the graphics look. Oh, fuck. Yes, oh, if only I had jumped a little bit sooner, I could have gotten it. Okay, next time I die, we're gonna call it a day for this episode. But yeah, this was a very interesting concept, and I don't know if I'll try any more of these, but I hope you enjoyed the little interpretation I made of Yellow Card's breathing. But anyway, this has been Focus on B, the Atari edition. The single-part video series where I take a look at a bunch of games in this case, which I definitely wouldn't want to Let's Play, but I think this was pretty interesting. This was a very strange version of the show, and I don't know if it'll happen again, maybe with some other system. Who knows, with games that are very short and bite-sized. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Focus on B, and I'll see you guys in the next one.